Welcome to the Navigating Your Life show. Tonight's topic is going to be overcoming adversity. In the challenging times that we live in, I don't think there's a better topic that we could be talking about this evening. To lead our conversation tonight, we had an individual that we wanted to talk with who is a person that I greatly admire, and her name is Ms. Carolyn Morgan, and she lives in Philadelphia, and we went to visit her in her home, and here's what unfolded.
Carolyn is a 65-year-old woman, have did a lot of things. A day in Carolyn's life look like from I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning and I go about my business, doing what I have to do. Life is a challenge. Every day you have a challenge. I just keep on pushing it, they say, until it gets done. I can't stop. I'm a trainer. I taught on sexual abuse. I teach other people to talk out loud, to speak up, and they know that they have rights. We have a chapter that I belong to. I'm the vice president. It's a group of disabled folks. We talk about how we want to live our life. We go out teaching other people that they have a voice. Disabled, no disabled, we are citizens too. See, in order to speak up, you have to be taught. My mother taught me. I was married too. My husband is deceased. I have a child. He's grown. But I did all that because my mother taught me. The doctor told my mother, treat me like a normal child. Don't make no difference. And that's the key that I think everybody should know. Just because you have a disability, it doesn't stop you from learning if you can.
Again, thanks to Carolyn for opening up her home. We're now going to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue our conversation, so please stay with us.
Do you want to achieve your personal best? Then join Dr. Nat Williams for the Absolutes of Success series, Attaining Your Personal Best workshop in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, on Saturday, November 13th. Workshop highlights include a better understanding of challenging life events, life's least common denominators, reframing, and developing a solid plan for the future. Register today, only $50, which includes the Absolutes of Success series workbook. See you there.
I'm Malachi and I'm 9 years old.
Hi, I'm Jay and I am 12 years old.
I'm Trayvon and I want a dad that can play ball with me. I'm Jeffrey and I want parents to love me forever.
These are just 4 of hundreds of children in the Delaware Valley who are waiting for families to adopt them. You don't have to be rich to adopt. You don't have to be married or even own your own home. You just have to have room in your heart to adopt a waiting child.
We want a family where we can stay together.
Remember, there are no unwanted children, just unfound families.
I want parents that can love me forever.
I want parents who will love me forever.
I want parents who love me forever. I want parents that can love me forever.
You can make a difference in the way a child grows up. For more information, call the National Adoption Center, 215-735-9988, or go to the center's website at adopt.org. There's a child out there who's waiting for you.
We're now back in studio, and we have with us a special guest. Her name is Cherry Woodburn, and she is a body image activist. And that is a title that you don't normally hear. So please tell us why that title is what you call the work you do.
Because there has been the women are deluged with in the media about being thin, about looking a certain way. Really, you're supposed to be white, tall, blonde. I mean, that's been the primary image for women, a standard of beauty here in the United States. And so to get that to change, there really has to be a strong movement, women getting together, grassroots kind of activism to get things to change within the media and then how we see standards of beauty here in this country and other countries. But I'm primarily involved in the United States.
Jerry, your company's name is called Borderless Thinking. Tell us where that name came from.
Actually, I was brainstorming with a friend trying to come up with an idea for a name to really look at how we think about our thinking, to start to look at underlying assumptions, belief systems, paradigms that people have, and then expand their thinking, not be so limited or bordered by their own belief system. And just in brainstorming, we came up with that name.
Wow. And the focus of today's show is overcoming adversity. How do you see the work that you do and really helping people think differently about themselves and others as a way of helping people overcome adversity? How do you see the two of those things tying together?
Well, very much. I mean, part of the work that I do is related to blogging. I'm an active blogger and involved in social media and then a lot of organizations. And what it is, it's so much about, I mean, the way to make things change is to create awareness. So what I talk about a lot, as do other body image activists, is the need for people to start to accept the bodies that they're in, to gain self-esteem, which then helps them overcome adversity. Because what can happen so often, for instance, in the workplace, and I'll just use weight as an issue, but that heavier people have a hard time getting work or being promoted. The good-looking people, whatever you're going to define or I'm going to define good-looking as, have an easier time. So if I can help them overcome adversity, if in fact I can help them start to feel better about themselves and to start to expand this definition that we have of beauty and capability, because too often they're seen as interrelated.
So when you look at the issue of weight as an example, is there, do you believe that a person should embark on an effort to improve their image when it comes to weight? There are some individuals, and I being one of them, that have a couple extra pounds. Are you saying that I should embrace my image as it is and then begin changing it? I'm not sure exactly, as a person looks at themselves, what are you suggesting that they do first before they begin to make any changes?
That's a really good question. I would definitely advocate that you accept the way you look first, because otherwise we're always looking for something right, and it makes it really difficult to bring about the change. Because I think once different blogs that I've read, different research has also shown, and we'll stick just with the weight image, that just by almost accepting the way you look, people have an easier time just sort of naturally losing weight, as opposed to it's something that you're thinking about all the time. Oh, I shouldn't be eating this, or oh, I've got to do this.
Wow. Okay. And the journey toward overcoming adversity, what are some of the other kinds of work that you've done or experiences that you've had with people that are just overcoming the situation that they're in and making the best of it? The earlier segment that we had on the show just before you joined us was a person with a disability and how she's turned out to be Pennsylvania's premier self-advocate and is doing some wonderful things for herself and others. But just give some advice as to what you think about that a person needs to do as they look at the challenges that lie ahead and overcome them. And just one more thing before you answer that is, we just heard recently that the recession was over in June. But for a lot of people, it's still going on, and that's an adverse situation that they're trying to overcome. So whether it's the weight, whether it's finances, whatever the situation is, what is your advice to getting ready to make some changes and to conquer that thing that may be a challenge?
Well, one of the things that I work with is getting people almost to start to look at the stories that they tell themselves. And when we start to look at, I'll just use myself as an example. Granted, I've never had a weight issue in my life, but I certainly have body image issues. And, I could go on and, do the whole mother thing about, the things that she said to me related to my looks, which are really negative, but that's also because she didn't like her looks. Do you know what I mean? And it just keeps going on like that. So with me starting to really recognize, for instance, the stories that I was telling myself related.
If you don't mind,
and I'm not being.
Terry, just give me an example of a story that you would have told yourself that would have impacted your body image?
Well, for instance, that, I should not be wearing my hair like I'm wearing it now because, my face is very long and I should be, it should be sort of puffed up to try to, make my face look fuller. I never, seriously, before my mother died, this is amazing, never would have worn something like this. She had to wear collars because my neck was too long.
Wow.
And so you always had to put a scarf on, you had to cover it up, you had to do things like that. And once I started...
And these sound like critical stories.
Horrible critical stories. And I mean, in hindsight,
Sure.
but at the time I just accepted them, and I honestly thought that my mother was trying to help me look better. And once I started to realize that the message inherent in that was that there's something wrong with the way I look now, I could start to rewrite that story for myself. And that, I have Audrey Hepburn's long, beautiful neck. I mean, there were different ways. I'm making a bit light of it, but in workshops, we literally will go through surfacing those kind of stories that you tell yourself and rewriting it.
Wow, wow. And I guess a lot of times these stories then get you to live in it with anxiety and fear and cause some other problems for you as well, and makes it difficult to get up every day and do what you need to do. Okay.
Very definitely. I mean, there's a lot of anxiety, I think, that goes along with it. I always knew, for instance, that I had a good brain, that I was bright. But at the same time, there would always be this, internal conflict, because it's like, oh, I don't know, but look you're going to go into that meeting and look at the way you look, and people are going to be staring at you for, nobody was staring at me at all.
Wow.
I mean, talk about being a bit self-centered too. The world was revolving around how Cherry looked.
Well, Cherry, we're getting ready to wrap up this segment, but I want to give you a chance to share with our viewers any other final thoughts or advice you want to give them.
Well, one of the things when I think about the great difficulties that people have related to not being good looking, and again, that's a standard set by the media, and getting jobs, that whether you agree or not, it's almost like playing the game of trying to dress yourself and coif yourself, whatever, in the standard of whatever that industry is. Because even if you're heavy, but if you're wearing the tailored suit that fits, if you're, or if you're wearing the khaki pants, whatever it is, that we try at least initially to emulate the way the system is. And I don't really like saying that, but we've got to get our foot in the door.
I think one of the things you point out, Cherry, is that you got to be in it to win it. And so often, as we're fighting to change the system, you have to be in the system, and a lot of times to affect the change.
Very definitely.
Well, Cherry, thank you so much for the work that you do.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Very informative. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Good. We're now going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll be continuing our show. So please stay with us.
Ready for some fun? FunWorks assists individuals with and without disabilities to participate in community activities. These activities are provided in small settings for 1 to 8 individuals with at least 1 to 2 direct support professionals. We visit places like Dollywood, Willow Valley Inn, Phillies Games, Iron Pigs Games, the Lehigh Valley Zoo, and more. Let us know your dream trip. Our staff is dedicated to ensuring your dream activities come true. For more information, call 888-966-9466 or visit funworksinc.org.
Explore Dr. Nat Williams' Absolutes of Success book series featuring The Navigator of Life, The Mature 64, Living Life 8x8, Management and Leadership by the 3 Ps, The Affordability Factor, The 4 C's of Change, Embracing Your Real Life, and the Absolutes of Success series workbook, Maximizing Your Greatest Potential to Achieve Your Personal Best. All books available at drnatwilliams.com or amazon.com.
Suicide is a difficult thing to understand because it can both be a planned and planful, sort of thought through thing that sometimes people do, but it is also at times a very spontaneous act. With regards to teen suicide and suicide in general, there's a sad dynamic that people don't tend to reach out for help until the very last minute. And the fact of the matter is, a lot of people suffer from mental illness or they have behavioral health problems that can be long-term or short-term. It can be depression, it can be mood or anxiety disorders, several of which are themselves risk factors for suicide. One of the other warning signs is after you've had those kinds of depressions and withdrawn and feeling hopelessness, if all of a sudden you notice euphoria or that people are now at ease or at peace, that might mean that they've made their decision, they have their plan, and they're ready to follow through. That they have an out now, they have hope. Their hope is to kill themselves. Most people don't realize that people kill themselves more with handguns in the Lehigh Valley than they kill each other. There are more suicides with handguns than there are homicides with handguns in our community. The Allentown Health Bureau actually, probably now 8 or 10 years ago, identified suicide as a public health risk because our rates of suicide in the Lehigh Valley were statistically higher than they are elsewhere in the state and also across the country. One of the specific services that Family Answers offers that I really want people to know about is on the first and third Monday of every month for free at 7 o'clock. We have a survivors of suicide support group. So if you are a family member or a friend or a colleague or you know someone that has completed a suicide, you're welcome to come and sit and talk to other people who have shared that same terrible experience. You don't have to call, you don't have to pre-register, you just can walk in. There are people whose lives we save because we connect with them and do the good work that we do. So are we successful 100% of the time? Absolutely not. But are we helping people? No doubt.
Well, welcome back. We're in studio with Lynn Weller and Stephanie Nadev of the YWC of Bethlehem. And they have told me that they're one of the few YWCAs without walls, and they do a lot of their work outside in the community. But I'll let them describe it. So Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us. Stephanie is the executive director.
Yes.
And then we have Lynn, who is the director of the Empowerment Center. Did I get that right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Stephanie, I understand you've been with the YWCA for 5 years as its exec. And tell us what the YWCA does in Bethlehem that may be a little different than what people expect to see from a YWCA.
What always happens when I talk to people about the YWCA, they think we're identical to the YMCA.
Sure.
And they're always astonished to find out that our mission is to eliminate racism and empower women.
Wow.
And they can understand empowering women, but a lot of times people say eliminating racism, I don't get it.
Wow.
And then I go through why we work on eliminating racism. Sure. In the 1970s, we had a conference in Houston, and at the conference, we had decided that we were going to have one imperative, and that was to eliminate racism. Mm-hmm. And pre-conference, a group of African American women came, and they spent 3 days talking about the conference, and they wanted to take a look at all the imperatives that were going to be discussed. And what they found was happening, everything had overtones of racism involved in it. And they said our one imperative should be to eliminate racism, and they presented that at the conference, and it was unanimous.
Wow.
that would become part of our mission.
Sure. Okay. And so, Lynn, you are the director of the Empowerment Center, and along with that effort to eliminate racism, what are some of the work that's going on in the Empowerment Center to address that goal, as well as to address some women's issues?
Well, my job is to run our women's empowerment and racial justice programming.
Sure.
And for racial justice, currently we're running study circles and reading circles. Our study circles are held at their different locations in the community.
Sure.
The idea is to get groups of people together talking about the issues of racism and race relations in their own lives and using their own experiences to come together and build on each other for the purpose of creating an action task. So things that have come out of that.
So they should do something about what they see.
Exactly. So it's the study circles aren't led that they would be told what's going on, but to really build from people's experiences, and then yes, do something about it. Some things that have happened out of these study circles are the Martin Luther King Day celebration, also in our community. Also, we've people involved have put together an intercultural dinner where they have shared each other's cultures, and so there's really they're doing something about it.
And those activities, I would assume, Stephanie, are so very important to keep the dialogue and the communication. And one of the things I heard recently, that the greatest way to eliminate discrimination is to keep people traveling, and that keeping them on the move, going to different places and seeing different things allows for them to open up their eyes to see that the world is bigger. So I guess you would agree that just keeping the dialogue and the forums and the programs that you're running is so very important to knocking down these walls.
I absolutely agree with that. What we're also starting to do now is to respond to issues in our community and national issues. I serve on the Mid-Atlantic Hallmark Committee, and in October we're going to be talking about this to everyone that's in our region, and there's about 44 YWCAs in the region, and what we're going to show them how to do editorials to respond to all the different issues. And the one that we're going to look at first is the Dr. Laura incident with her show.
And that was where she used some words
that she shouldn't have ever used on the radio.
At her show, she decided to close it down.
Yes.
Okay. And she's on radio in a lot of different cities, and wow.
Yes.
So again, a major part of what the YWCA is doing, Lynn, is the dialogue and keeping the dialogue going, but also, as you said, to have some action steps. And as people that are trying to overcome adversity, what is it about the model of the YWCA that could help them begin to make that walk through the challenge or the situation? What is it that they could find in the YWCA that they couldn't find too easily anywhere else? I'll put that to you, to Stephanie, if you want to.
What I think they can find at the YWCA is diversity.
Okay.
We're not just white women, white middle-class women. We have a mixture of women from every socioeconomic class and every race.
Wow.
And I think that's what we can do. And I think as we talk to each other and get to know each other, we don't see the differences, we see the similarities.
There's a lot more in common that you have than otherwise.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, we're going to get ready to wrap up this segment, so I want to give you a chance, Lynn, to share any closing thoughts, and then you, Stephanie. So, Lynn, as we look at overcoming adversity and managing some of the obstacles that we have, what are some thoughts that you'd like to leave our viewers with?
Well, I would just like to let people who are listening know that at the YWCA, we're always looking for people to get involved.
Okay.
If you feel passionate about working in the community and working towards eliminating racism, we do accept volunteers, and we do want people to get involved so we can be a leader in this in the community and make a difference.
And is your structure open to men, or is it primarily women that the YWCA wants to have as part of their stakeholders?
We are definitely open to men volunteering with the organization.
Good. Stephanie, your closing thoughts and anything else you want to say?
Yes, I was going to say that men are welcome to join us. The only thing men aren't allowed to do is be in our board of directors. It has to be specifically women, and that's our charter and our bylaws state that. And I want to say that what I'm looking forward to is the day that I can close the doors of the YWCA when women are empowered and racism is eliminated, and that's what I'm really working for.
Well, what an outstanding goal. Work yourself out of a job.
Yes.
Wow, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Stephanie, for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
We're now going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to wrap up today's show, so please stay with us.
Travel, meetings, more travel. Work more and travel less with video conferencing. There are now 5 video conferencing rooms serving the Lehigh Valley and Berks available for your next interview, meeting, or conference. Whether you need an executive conference room for 8 or a 3,000 square foot training space for 120, we have your accommodations. And now host and book high-definition video conferences with others from all over the world by going to myvideoconferenceroom.com. Don't go there, be there.
Uniformnia is dedicated to giving you durable, comfortable, and high-quality school uniforms at prices your family can afford. Our online catalog is available 24 hours a day, providing top-notch customer service. We offer an extensive variety of colors and sizes for both boys and girls, from some of the largest uniform manufacturers within the United States. So visit us at www.uniformnia.com. Durable, comfortable, high-quality clothing for America's student.
At Bridge to Creative Learning and Childcare Center, your child will learn and play the creative way in a safe and secure environment. We offer a fun and caring educational-based atmosphere and allow parents to monitor their child's activities. We are a state-licensed childcare center offering academic preparation, after-school programs, creative learning, summer activities, and much more. Call us at 610-351-7400. Prepare your child for a brighter future.
We're going to wrap up today's show, and we hope that it has been encouraging, enlightening, and empowering for you. We all come across some type of adversity in our lives. It is important that we work hard to overcome it, and more importantly, look out for those people around us who may be struggling to overcome it and make sure we don't leave them behind. Next week's show is going to be concentrating on the creative you and some ideas about bringing out that inner person in you that is just breaking and working hard to get out. So till then, be well, and thank you so much for watching tonight's show.
A list of resources related to today's show is available on our website, which is navigatingrourlifeshow.com. On this site, there is a connection to our Facebook and Twitter pages and to our blog. While you are there, you can also email your comments on today's show or share ideas for future shows.